Let's be honest, cardio can be confusing. Should you be doing HIIT? What about sit or zone 2 cardio? Why does it seem like cardio that used to work in your 30s just doesn't seem to hit the same in your 40s, especially when it comes to belly fat loss? This is a highly requested follow-up video from the video I posted last week, specifically talking about how to decrease belly fat during perimenopause. I touch base on cardio and the different types of cardio you should be doing, but this video is gonna do a deeper dive and break down exactly what HIIT, what sit, what zone 2 cardio is, what LISS is, how they each work, what are heart rate zones, what does that even mean, how to calculate your heart rate zone to make sure that you are being the most effective you can in your cardio workout, and most important, which of these cardio styles are best for women heading into or are in perimenopause or menopause, who want to lose fat, support their hormones, and stay lean. So as always, I want to get right into it, but of course, if you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell so you get a notification whenever I release a new video, just like this one, every single week. My name's Michelle Roots, kinesiologist, personal trainer, and nutrition coach with over 19 years experience in the industry, helping people increase lean muscle and decrease body fat to become the strongest, leanest, and healthiest versions of themselves. And I created this channel because I want to help you as well. Now, because this video is going to be a full lesson all about cardio and everything you need to know, I want to start by talking about cardio zones and different energy systems. So to understand what type of cardio works best for you, you need to understand your energy systems and cardio zones and what's happening inside your body during each one. Your body has 3 main energy systems that power your workouts. Number 1, your aerobic, also known as oxidative system. This is the system in your body that uses oxygen primarily to burn fat as fuel. This is great for longer, steady state cardio sessions. Number 2, you have your anaerobic glycolytic system. This is the system in your body that burns carbs for fuel as intensity starts to increase and the oxygen just can't keep up. And then number 3, you have your ATP-PC system, also known as your phosphagen system. This system fuels short, explosive bursts of all-out effort lasting 30 seconds or less. Those are our 3 energy systems. Now, how do those fit into our heart rate zones? Let's just do a quick rundown of the 5 different heart rate zones and what system we are using in each of these zones. Zone 1 is a recovery and very light movement, and that's about 50 to 60% of your maximum heart rate. I'll tell you in a minute how to calculate your max heart rate and each of your heart rate zones. So this zone 1 would look like a light walk, some mobility, maybe yoga, and daily movement. It helps with recovery, circulation, fat metabolism, but it's not necessarily a calorie burner. Think of it more as just your daily movement. Then we have zone 2, which is that aerobic base, that aerobic energy system we're tapping into. That's about 60 to 70% of your max heart rate. This is what you hear people call your fat burning zone. You can still talk, you can still hold a conversation while you're doing this exercise, but you might be breathing a little bit deeper. Here, your body is primarily using body fat for fuel and is supported by oxygen. Doing cardio in zone 2 improves your mitochondria, which are basically your body's little energy factories, and it can boost insulin sensitivity, which is very important if you're in perimenopause because as estrogen and progesterone drop, your insulin sensitivity reduces. You can stay in this zone 2 for about 30 to 60 minutes, and this is perfect for perimenopausal women to support your metabolism, lower stress hormones, and of course, improve heart health. Then we look at zone 3, which is about 70 to 80% of your max heart rate. This is kind of that middle ground where you're working hard, but you're not working all out. Your body will be using a mix of fat and carbohydrates for fuel, and you could probably maintain this for about 20 to 40 minutes, but it's not as restorative as zone 2. It's good for fitness maintenance, but shouldn't necessarily be your daily go-to cardiovascular training. Zone 4 is about 80 to 90% of your maximum heart rate, and that is more of your threshold, your high intensity interval training, also known as HIIT. Here you're training that second system we talked about, your anaerobic glycolytic system. Your body is primarily using carbohydrates for fuel. You can only maintain this heart rate zone for about 1 to 3 minutes, of course, depending on your fitness level. But this is your typical HIIT zone. So the high intensity interval training zone, which is great for improving your fitness, building power, and stimulating muscle growth. And then we have zone 5, which is your max effort. So that's 90 to 100% of your maximum heart rate. This is your sit training. So your sprint interval training. This is gonna tap into that third energy system we talked about, the ATP PC system. You can only sustain this for 10 to 30 seconds, be a little bit longer again, depending on your own fitness level, but your body will need a longer recovery after this bout of intense sprint. So looking at sit training, it's short, it's effective, it's explosive, but also the most demanding on your nervous system and needs recovery. So now that you have a little bit of a better understanding of the different heart rate zones, let's talk about how to calculate your own heart rate zone. I'm gonna use myself as an example. I am 42 years old, almost 43 in a few weeks. And the simplest way for a beginner to calculate your different heart rate zones is 220 minus your age. So for me, I'm 42 years old. 220 minus 42 is 178 beats per minute. So I'm just gonna pull up this graph here so we can calculate my different training zones. So you can see with my maximum heart rate being 178 beats per minute, we've got the zone here, the percent of max heart rate, the example of what my heart rate range should be, as well as what energy system and what benefit I'm getting out of each of these zones. So you can see my zone 1, 50 to 60% of my max heart rate. I should be working between 89 and 107 beats per minute. Best for recovery, blood flow, and fat metabolism. Zone 2, I'm about 107 to 125 beats per minute. Best for aerobic fat burning and mitochondria health. And then zone 3, 125 to 142 beats per minute. Aerobic and anaerobic crossover. So again, that middle zone where we're kind of teetering between the different energy systems. Zone 4, 142 to 160 beats per minute. This is my HIIT zone. So improve my VO2 max and my power. And then zone 5, 160 to 178 beats per minute. This is my sprint interval training zone. So the sit zone, maximum effort and explosive capacity. Now that we have a better understanding of our different energy systems in our body, the different heart rate zones when we're doing our cardio, what that is doing for us working in the different heart rate ranges, let's do a deeper dive into the different types of cardio. So the LISS, the zone 2, the HIIT, and the sit, and I'm gonna give some examples of what that type of workout would look like for you. And then again, after that, we'll talk about how you're gonna fit these different types of cardio sessions into your weekly workouts. Let's start by talking about steady state cardio, also known as LISS, low impact steady state cardio. This is gonna include lower intensity exercise like walking, light swimming, light cycling, maybe riding your bike around the park or around the street, just a nice stroll. You're doing this for about 30 to 60 minutes. You're mainly in zone 2 most likely, teetering between zone 1 and zone 2. Again, depending on your cardiovascular fitness, and your body is primarily using fat for fuel. Then we look into zone 2 cardio. How does zone 2 cardio differ from low impact steady state cardio? This is more targeted aerobic training. So a little bit more focused versus just moving your body. So very, very similar to steady state, but a little bit more structured. You're working at an intentional pace, a longer duration, and keeping your heart rate consistent around 60 to 70% of your max heart rate. So for me, that's around 110 to 125 beats per minute. I wanna stay in that heart rate range. The benefits of this zone 2 cardio, there are so many. I actually have a whole video already on my channel talking about the benefits of zone 2 cardio. I will link that in the video description if you want to go watch it next. But a brief overview: improves mitochondrial density. Again, your body's little energy factories, fat oxidation, and insulin sensitivity, which are all crucial during perimenopause. What are a few examples of zone 2 cardio? 30 to 45 minutes on a stationary bike at a moderate intensity. So you're working a little bit more intentionally than if you're just cycling on a bike to get movement. You're working intentionally to keep your heart rate in that specific zone. Maybe a morning walk for 45 minutes on an incline or hills outside, where again, you are walking intentionally with the goal of getting your heart rate in a certain range and keeping it there. Then we can talk about HIIT, so that high intensity interval training. This is one I feel gets mixed up a lot, and because it's kind of a keyword that a lot of people just throw out there, that I do HIIT. They don't really have a great understanding of what HIIT is and if they're actually doing HIIT when they say they are. High intensity interval training is basically cardio training where you're alternating between extreme bursts of intense effort and then recovery periods. So your intense effort is in that zone 4, so our 80 to 90% of our max heart rate. Each of those high intensity phases can last between 30 seconds and up to 2 or 3 minutes, depending on your personal cardiovascular fitness. So the benefits of this: boosts cardiovascular fitness, burns calories effectively, and will help maintain your lean muscle. Because it's a shorter duration of workout, you don't risk tapping into your muscle stores to fuel you through the workout. We have to be careful because doing too much HIIT throughout the week can raise cortisol levels, which can stall fat loss and especially belly fat in perimenopause. So what's an example of a high intensity interval training session? If we are running on a treadmill, that could be a 30-second sprint followed by a 90-second slower jog or walk. On a bike, we could be doing 20 seconds of sprinting and 1 minute of recovery. You could be doing 30 seconds of burpees followed by 1 minute of rest for 4 to 5 rounds. These workouts only need to last a maximum of 30 minutes. You want to keep them shorter and higher intensity, so it also could look like sprinting down a soccer field and turning around and doing a light jog or light walk back. Turn around, sprint for 4, 5, 6 rounds. And that's it. And then, so from high intensity interval training, we look at how does that differ from sprint interval training? So that's sit. Call it HIIT's more intense cousin. Very, very similar structure and layout, but with sprint interval training, you are in maximal effort. So you are in that zone 5. 90 to 100% of your max heart rate. Do 10 seconds or maybe 30 seconds, again, depending on your personal fitness level, followed by a full recovery of 2 to 3 minutes of rest. So working way more intense for a shorter period of time, but a much longer recovery time. The benefits of doing this type of training is improve insulin sensitivity, which is very important during perimenopause, muscle power, and fat oxidation in less time than having to do a long zone 2 cardio session. It's very, very demanding on your body, so you only really need to do it once a week if you've built up a solid cardio base from doing all the other things I've already talked about. So what's an example of a sprint interval training session? On a bike, you could do 20 seconds of all out as hard as you possibly can, and then you're gonna do a full 2 minute slow recovery ride. And you're gonna repeat that for 5 rounds. Maybe if you're outside on a track or you're at the bottom of a hill, you're gonna do a full sprint as hard as you possibly can to get your heart rate up to that 90 to 100% range, and then you're gonna slowly walk back for 5 rounds. If you're using a rowing machine, an elliptical, whatever machine you prefer to work with, that is totally fine. But what matters more is getting your heart rate into these heart rate zones. So again, with a rowing machine, it could be a 15-second all-out sprint with a 90-second very slow recovery where your heart rate comes back down for 5 rounds. Now that you've got an idea of all the different types of cardio, I hope it's sunk in now and you have a better understanding of what the different types of cardio are. What is the best mix of cardio for women in their 40s heading into or are in perimenopause, who want to lose or prevent belly fat gain or overall weight gain? I'll tell you, the answer is not doing more cardio, it's the right mix of the right types of cardio. Your body in perimenopause is much more sensitive to stress. High cortisol from way too much HIIT or way too much sit can make fat loss so much harder. The sweet spot is combining lower intensity cardio, so that zone 2 cardio training with the occasional high intensity interval training and sprint interval training. Keep your metabolism, your hormones, and your energy balanced. So a recommended weekly mix would be 2 to 3 zone 2 cardio sessions for 30 to 45 minutes each, 1 high intensity interval training or sprint interval training session for 15 to 20 minutes, minimum 3 strength training workouts, and then 1 to 2 active recovery days. So that's that zone 1. Light brisk walk, light bike ride around the park, yoga, swimming, very low intensity active movement days. Doing a combination of all these things keeps your heart, your hormones, and your metabolism working with you, not against you. So to wrap it up, if your goal is fat loss and hormone balance in perimenopause, you don't need to kill yourself with cardio. You need to do smart cardio. So there you go, guys. I hope this was helpful. Any questions about cardio or anything else, of course, leave them in the video comments below. I'm always happy to help. If you need more help with your strength training or your cardio or your nutrition, you can learn more about working with me one-on-one in my online fitness and nutrition coaching program. I will put a link to that program in the video description below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a like. And as always, have a great day, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.